and Biden pulled the plug. We're following breaking news from the campaign trail as both candidates cancel tonight's Cleveland rallies. Crowd control. Governor DeWine recommends universities cancel in-person classes and that sporting events go on without crowds. Which colleges are going online only, and what all of this means for your health and safety. And the community impact. Cleveland's Jewish community takes action to stay safe after a confirmed coronavirus case. And rooted in reading, how a library will soon transform the University Circle area.
From the WKYC studios, this is What Matters Most.
We begin with breaking news on the coronavirus front. Within the last hour and a half, both Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden canceled political rallies that were set to be held in Cleveland tonight. The New York Times reports these are the first major campaign events canceled because of coronavirus concerns.
In the meantime, more than 800 cases of COVID-19 are being reported nationwide tonight. The 3 here in Cuyahoga County we learned about yesterday, with now 15 people awaiting test results.
And 6 doctors at university hospitals are among them in isolation tonight after coming in close contact with the 3 coronavirus patients from Northeast Ohio. And thanks for joining us. There are many new developments to talk about this evening.
Yes, and more on those rallies that were canceled in just a bit. But first, we have team coverage for you tonight. Our senior health correspondent, Monica Robbins, spoke with someone in contact with one of the coronavirus patients as she describes what it's like being in quarantine.
But first, Andrew Horansky tells us some of the extraordinary measures Northeast Ohio colleges are taking and the virus's potential impact on schools. Drew, good evening.
Good evening to you. Of course, this was a big and dramatic ask coming today from Ohio's governor, meaning what he wants are essential personnel, such as parents, coaches, and athletes at games, to be there while everyone else stays at home.
Governor Mike DeWine said today that Ohio is at a critical time as he called on the state's universities to switch to remote learning due to the new coronavirus.
And we need to get this right. Every action each of us takes can, and will help save lives.
Yesterday, Ohio State was the first to make the change and suspended all in-person classes through the end of March. Today, Kent State, the University of Akron, Case Western, and John Carroll all followed suit, with OSU's president saying they'll roll up their sleeves to adjust how they teach, utilizing platforms such as Zoom.
We've never done anything like try to have our whole curriculum as a distance learning platform or online. We'll do everything we can to make sure that they have outstanding delivery of educational content.
As the governor made another major request, saying all spectator games, even professional ones, should now include only essential personnel such as players, coaches, and parents, stressing that big gatherings, even outside, still present an issue.
It's not something that anyone enjoys talking about, and I certainly don't enjoy saying. We believe, the experts believe, that this is a real problem, and that is a recipe for disaster. The same would be true with parades.
Unclear is how it could soon impact NCAA games in Dayton and Cleveland, where the St. Patrick's Day Parade is also still on.
Unclear also is whether all schools will follow suit. Late this afternoon, Bowling Green and OU announced they're moving to remote learning as well. No word from BW, while spokesmen at Tri-C and Cleveland State say students are on spring break right now and they are looking at their options. Sarah?
Drew, we're talking a lot about colleges here, but have we heard about any grade schools or high schools that are considering remote learning?
Yeah, actually today we learned teachers in Twinsburg have been given an in-service day Friday to plan a remote curriculum in case they need to close. Parents in preschool through 8 will be filling out a survey on their family's internet accessibility. Same with high school students. And that's likely not the only district to be taking such steps, or of course keeping an eye on others as well.
That internet access being critical there. All right. Thanks, Drew.
Sure.
Northeast Ohio's Jewish community is feeling the impact after a staffer at the Jewish Educational Center tested positive.
That man and the others who came in contact with him are now in quarantine. And Monica Robbins is here with what they're doing to just keep everybody safe in this situation. Monica.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of common sense. And I've been told that nearly 24 teens who were on the bus with the individual who tested positive have put themselves under self-quarantine as a precaution. All attended the American Israel Public Affairs Committee conference in D.C. at the beginning of this month. And now there have been 4 cases reported from that conference. About 160 Clevelanders attended the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee meeting in D.C. at the beginning of March, 18,000 people total. On March 4th, they received an email that some participants may have been exposed to COVID-19. 2 days later, they learned 2 people from New York tested positive. On Saturday, another from L.A., and then on Monday, one of Ohio's first cases was added to the list, making it 4 cases at AIPAC. The Jewish Federation of Cleveland confirmed the patient is a staff member at the Jewish Education Center in Cleveland Heights. He is quarantined at home. The center offices are closed for 2 weeks as a precaution. And now several other schools and temples are also beginning to close. When they heard the news of his diagnosis,
well, at that point, I was much more concerned. Well, not so much for me because, I'm in that category of like healthy and not in a dangerous age bracket, but more for the people that I come into contact with.
Another attendee told me she had a 5-minute conversation with the man, and when she learned he tested positive, she said, quote, "I worried about him, and then I worried about me, and then I said to myself, just calm down." She and 2 others talked to physicians and received different advice. Because of her close contact, she was told to quarantine for 14 days and get tested. Another was told to just quarantine. And the third I spoke to was told to do nothing.
I saw the person, I acknowledged the person, but I never touched the person or was like, they were significantly far away. Not significantly far, but, there were people in between me and him when I acknowledged. And so we both felt like I did not need to quarantine. I hadn't been really in contact, per se, with the person.
So while the medical advice was different, it's important to understand that apparently so was the exposure to the infected individual. However, this situation is constantly evolving and protocols may change once we begin seeing more cases and a community spread. Also, the 3 positive cases were treated by staff at university hospitals, and as you heard, all 6 healthcare workers are also under quarantine at home.
And as you said yesterday, this is a marathon, not a sprint with this.
It is definitely, yeah. Terry Allen said that as well. Right. It is a marathon, not a sprint. And what we're seeing now is not to be unexpected. This is normal. And, this is going to be a long road. This is something that we've not seen something like this before. It's a virus that we're not used to. But we do have plans in place. And that's what I've been trying to say. We have gone through similar circumstances before, but something like this we've not seen. But this is no surprise that we're going to see events canceled. So I don't want people to get that upset about this. We're doing everything we can to contain this virus.
All right.
Very good.
Thank you, Monica.
Sure. Well, it was supposed to be a big night in Cleveland as the 2020 Democratic presidential candidates were both set to hold rallies here. But the coronavirus has changed that.
Both Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden canceled tonight's events. We have team coverage this evening from where both were set to be held. We begin with Mark Namick outside the Huntington Convention Center, where the Sanders rally was set to begin in a couple hours. Mark, good evening to you.
Hi, Russ. Remember, politics and especially retail politics are all about crowds and handshakes. Both candidates recognize the need to change their plans based on the coronavirus warnings and concerns. So they've done that. About an hour and a half ago, they really closed it down. There were a couple dozen supporters out front and maybe 3-4 dozen volunteers ready to go. And behind me right now, you'll see that they are taking down the stands that they had set up. There's still a lot of political news tonight, and that is really what's going to happen in Michigan. It's considered a very important bellwether, Midwest bellwether for Bernie Sanders, who won Michigan 4 years ago, but did not win Ohio. Biden is hoping to really end this race here in Ohio 7 days from now with about 136 delegates on the table.
All right. Is Michigan one of 6 states up for grabs tonight? All right, Mark. Thank you. Now we want to go to Tri-C, where Vice President Biden was set to appear later tonight.
And that's where we find Lena Lai now. What's going on there, Lena?
Hi, guys. Yeah, it was supposed to be dueling campaign rallies tonight, and we are literally 2.2 miles away from where Mark is at the now canceled Bernie Sanders rally, and here at the now canceled Joe Biden rally at Tri-Seas Rec Center. You see crews here breaking down the scene here. I'm standing here amongst national media, local, national, and international crews who've been standing by waiting to cover this rally, but it was canceled around 4:30, long before any of the crowds were to come in about 8:30 tonight. Now, Joe Biden was in Columbus earlier this afternoon, only speaking to a small crowd of just a few dozen supporters. But, you know, tonight was supposed to be a great spotlight for Cleveland, you know, being made the epicenter for the Democratic Party as 6 states tally up the votes tonight. You know, why Cleveland? Well, Cleveland and Cuyahoga County, historically heavily Democratic, having voted for the Democratic presidential candidate in every election since 1972. So certainly a big disappointment for supporters here in Cleveland. Back to you guys.
Yes, our own primary vote 7 days away. All right. Thanks, Lena.
And to get the latest Facts Not Fear developments on the coronavirus, text the word FACTS to 216-344-3300, and we will send you a link to our special coverage. Again, that's text the word FACTS to 216-344-3300.
Here's what else is happening. An historic trial began in Akron today. Stanley Ford is accused of setting 2 fires that killed 9 people, including 5 children, in 2016 and 2017. First, the jury went to that Fultz Avenue neighborhood where this all happened.
Stanley Ford sat quietly in Judge Christine Croce's courtroom as his trial got underway. After instructions, jurors left the court to visit Ford's neighborhood, where 2 deadly fires burned, fires that Ford is accused of starting.
I'm going to try to walk you through the evidence.
Through witness statements and defendant interviews, prosecutor Joe D'Angelo painted Ford as a troublemaker who often argued and fought with his neighbors.
And we'll tell you about the defendant's animosity towards Linda Lewis and the people at 719 Fultz.
Prosecutors also showed security camera video and alarm company records from Ford's mother's house, along with a timeline of both fires. Someone was seen going back and forth to those houses, back to Ford's home up the street. Defense attorney Scott Riley acknowledged the tragedy of both fires, but says there are so many people with motives in both fires, there's reasonable doubt of Ford's involvement.
And look at the world that he lived in, and the situations that are there, and the environment that it creates, and the danger and the trouble that is associated with that sort of lifestyle.
The trial resumes tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Well, Lorain School District says it is cutting administrative jobs. Some 45 employees will be let go at the end of July to save money. But we were told this is not all bad news. Interim school CEO Greg Ring says 25 new and more traditional jobs like principals will be added. Coming up tonight, sparking development. That's the goal behind the new project.
Next, why books could be the catalyst for growth in Cleveland's University Circle area. And we say hi to Betsy Kling.
Hello there, team. As we're keeping an eye on rain that is moving out and a little rain-snow mix that is trying to move in. The problem is I don't think it's going to have a whole lot of success. I'll have details on what it means for our forecast straight ahead.
What Matters Most is sponsored by Window Nation. Online at windownation.com.
New development is coming to University Circle between the main campuses of Cleveland Clinic and University Hospitals. And it all starts with a library. It's part of a larger plan to jumpstart growth in that area, all centered on that new library.
Brandon Simmons shows us what's in the works.
Sitting on Stokes Boulevard in a rather hard-to-find location is one of Cleveland's historic library locations, the Martin Luther King branch. But that may not be the case for long. The library to be a focal point for development between Cleveland's premier health systems.
The library is going to be a centerpiece for that development. We're going to be 2 floors of a larger 11-floor apartment building.
The goal is to break ground this summer on 2 new apartment buildings, one on Chester Avenue, which would take the place of the old 3rd District Police Headquarters, and a second apartment on Euclid Avenue, which is currently just a parking lot. Felton Thomas, CEO of Cleveland Public Library, says other major cities have centered development around libraries, including New York and Chicago. This will be Cleveland's first attempt.
Last year we had 68,000 people come into this library. We know that that's going to grow, probably in double.
When it's all said and done, the development will encompass 2 blocks of what is mostly vacant space along Stokes Boulevard between Chester and Euclid, a roughly 2-year construction process that will include retail and other additions. The new library is just step 1.
We are looking to have this library opened by Martin Luther King Day of 2022.
Now, the developer declined to comment on the cost of the entire project, but the library says they're already working on taking a similar concept to the west side as well. So lots to come.
Very cool stuff.
Yeah, very cool.
All right, Brandon, thank you.
Sure.
6:17 now, and I bet you noticed the change today. That rain brought in a little something cool out there.
You could see it on the radar beautifully, little ribbon of rain, and I put out on my Instagram feed a little radar, and I said, here comes the front.
Yeah, I saw that and got immediately
Burst of
depressed.
rain, change of wind, temperatures drop, and here we are now. We haven't quite seen so much sun as of yet. We're still sticking in the cloud cover. It's being very stubborn, but we will start to see the clouds scouring out as we get into the overnight. May have a little patchy fog here and there. Temperatures generally fading back into the 30s by the early morning hours. There's a look at the radar. The rain is out of here, but the northwest winds are still with us, and that is driving down the temperatures downwind of the lake, where we're still in the 30s at this point, but 40s elsewhere in northeast Ohio. Yet another 10-degree temperature difference from north to south. But for the most part, we're kind of in between 2 systems, okay? So we had the rain that came through earlier, the cold front that brought the changes. Now we're just kind of stuck in the crud behind all of that with the clouds. Once we get some clearing in here, then we're going to start to focus in on our next possibility for some rain. But this is struggling. This little system that's coming across the Plain States is not living its best life, and it most likely will only end up bringing us a little bit of a shower, a little bit of spritz chance as we go through the day tomorrow. Let's watch it here on the hour by hour. You can kind of see how it's moving eastward. Snow showers will start to spread across Wisconsin and Michigan, but you can also see these thunderstorms firing up farther to the south. So not a very good focus of the energy. It's kind of spread out. So that's why this thing is not going to last too much longer. But as it moves across the Great Lakes region, you can see maybe a few little sprinkles and showers popping up tomorrow. I don't even know that it's going to be necessarily enough to wet the windshield, but by evening we're just kind of stuck with the clouds once again. Then things do start to change on us. We're going to start to clear things out on Thursday, and we're watching for this next system that's coming out of the west. This one has a little bit more punch to it, a little more organization, some upper support, and it does look like Thursday night into Friday we'll have another round of a rain, possibly snow mix that moves in. So clouds and sun for tomorrow. Emphasis on the clouds. Not so much emphasis on the sun. It will be cooler lakeside, but generally speaking, temperatures tomorrow top out in the upper 40s. Dover, New Philadelphia, Canton, over toward Millersburg, you folks may end up in the 50s. Here's your Universal Windows direct forecast. We're all going to be moving right through the 50s and into the 60s then. Kind of a whiplash coming our way on Thursday ahead of that rain snow potential Thursday night into Friday. That's not anything that's going to delay any commutes or anything like that by Friday. Right now, the weekend, we've put in a little chance for some snow now Saturday night into Sunday morning. I'm hoping a lot of that will be kind of in the overnight hours and not too impactful for us. Just something to kind of keep an eye on. But you can see that the weekend is notably cooler for us.
The cold spot.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
For mid-March, though, this is not bad at all.
We're rolling on through.
Wow.
Can't complain. Thanks, Betsy.
Thanks.
Well, the coronavirus extends its reach into the sports world in Ohio.
Jimmy tells us what's happening with the MAC tournament in Cleveland and in high school playoffs all throughout the state. That's next.
This sports report is sponsored by the people-pleasing people at Sarah Auto Park in Akron.
Jimmy here talking tournaments and possible changes.
Yeah, you know, the sad part about all of this is a big week, of course, here in Cleveland and all around Ohio for high school and college. And there are alternate plans that are going on right now. Let's get you caught up, okay? First of all, the Mid-American Conference basketball tournament for the women and the men is at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. And from what we understand right now, those games and that tournament will go on. But it looks as though what we're hearing is that there will be limited spectators allowed in, maybe just immediate family, and that's going to be the case around a lot of these tournaments. This comes, of course, after Governor DeWine recommending no fans at public sporting events. But what we're hearing is that at the MAC tournament, no bands, no cheerleaders, just possibly 3 family members for each player coming to the games. But the games will go on. The women play tomorrow, then the men Thursday, Friday, Saturday, along with the women, and the tournament will wrap up on Saturday. That's the MAC, and we're waiting for confirmation on that plan. High school. A lot of state championships and regional championships are going on in these sports: hockey, girls basketball, boys basketball, and wrestling. The OHSAA immediately took to a press conference this afternoon, taking Governor DeWine's advice. The events will continue with limited spectators, immediate family of student athletes. There are games tonight on the boys' side of the tournament, and fans will be allowed into those games, and then these limited spectator situations will kick in starting tomorrow.
We have to consider the safety aspect of the health aspects of this first. And I know the challenges that creates, and it would be wrong for me to go against the governor and the state superintendent's recommendation.
Now to the NBA, okay? And this situation is hitting that part of the sport too. The Cavs are away from Cleveland, and they're away from Cleveland until late in March. They're on a 10-day, 6-game road trip. They play tonight in Chicago. Now remember, the NBA and all of the professional sports are not allowing any media members in the locker room anymore, so the Cavs conducted their interviews in the hallway outside of their locker room today at the United Center. So the NBA taking precautions there. No media members in the locker room. Kevin Love, for instance, did his press conference today behind a table 6 to 8 feet away from the media.
I think it's, sudden change is fine with me, but I like the routine and what we're used to. This is a little awkward. I just stand behind the table and you guys are asking me questions from a chip shot away, a little different.
There will be no on-court interviews with sideline reporters during games. Happy birthday, J.B. Bickerstaff, the new head coach of the Cavaliers, and guess what he got for his birthday? A contract. He got a contract, and congratulations to him. For the Browns, a lot of news today. We say so long to a great player, great guy, captain of the defense, linebacker Christian Kirksey. Kirksey, though, was injured really the last 2 years. He missed 23 games the last 2 seasons with various injuries, missed 14 this past year with a pectoral tear, but making $7.75 million, or scheduled to make that this year. The Browns tried to redo his contract. They could not meet in the middle on it, and so he says so long. Class guy. Congratulations to our center and to all of you, okay? To the Browns center, and that is J.C. Tretter. He is the new president of the NFL Players Association. And I'll tell you, he is a brilliant guy who majored in labor relations at Cornell University. Wow. And so the players said, you bet we want him in. And he did an amazing thing over the weekend. He broke down the new CBA agreement, which is 400 pages long, and he condensed it in brilliant fashion because he didn't think the players were going to read all 400 pages.
That's the guy you want.
That's the guy.
Thanks for watching. Jimmy's back at 7.